I remained stiff. I became the idea of a girl in her car seat. Suddenly, she veered off the freeway with such violence. I thought we were driving off the road to our death, but it was a ramp. She pulled over, jammed on the brakes, and sobbed into her folded arms. Her back shook. Her sadness enveloped me. I could not escape it. Nothing I could do would stop it. In a few minutes, she started driving again. She and again took a freeway overpass toward another road. She continued to cry, but with less violence. And at some point, I asked the cracked glass eye, the nick in the windshield where the pebble had hit, to watch the road for me, a kind of prayer, and I slept. At the height of her hopelessness and noise, I felt a calm presence near us, even though I knew we were alone in the watery hell, the car jerking, some benevolent presence that cared for us but could not interfere, maybe sitting in the back seat. The presence could not stop us, could not help it, only watch and note it. I wondered later if it was a ghostly version of me now, accompanying my younger self and my mother in that car. The next morning, the man who tended the bees wore a white crinkly suit with attached gloves and a hat with a net sewn in. The bees lived in a slated box in the small backyard. From the side of the kitchen and attached at the back of the bungalow, we looked at the yard. He called to me, motioning for me to come over and look. "There's something to be afraid of," he said. "She's fairly allergic to bees." My mother called to him. Once I'd stepped on a bee, and my foot swelled up. I couldn't walk on it for a week. "My bees are really happy," he said. "They're not going to sting." He removed his hat while he spoke so we could see his face. "These are honeybees. They're friendly," he said. "But you're wearing a suit." My mother said, "She's in shorts. She has no protection. It's only because I have to get in there, take their honey, otherwise I'd be dressed like you." "They don't want to sting you," he said to me. "Do you know what happens to them if they do? They give up their life." He paused. "Why would they want to give up their life to hurt you when they're happy and you're not doing them any harm?" "Are you sure?" my mother asked him again. The setup looked wrong, but what did we know about bees? "Yeah," he said, putting on his hat. "I'd never seen a hive up close." "Okay," my mother said, only partially convinced. I walked over to where he stood and looked down at the teeming velvety mass. The bees were made a shimmering brown carpet. Some flew higher, bobbing above like tiny balloons on strings. One landed on my upper cheek and began to walk in the circle. I didn't know this circling was a kind of preparatory dance. When I tried to swipe it off, it was affixed. Then it stung. I ran down to my mother, who pulled me into the kitchen. The open windows carried her voice. "What were you thinking?" she yelled at him, opening cabinets one after the other, then grabbing the baking soda, mixing it into paste with her water in a bowl. "How dare you?" She squatted beside me, pulled the stinger out with tweezers, and then patted the paste on my cheek with the pads of her fingers as it began to swell. What an idiot, she muttered, in a full bodysuit, telling a girl she wasn't in danger. When we had a little money to spare, we drove to Drager's Market, where a wall of rotisserie ovens behind the deli counter held rows of slowly turning meat. It smelled of sweet dirt and steam. You could tell the uncooked chickens because they were bright white with orange powder dusted on the surface. The cooked ones were brown and taut. She pulled a number. 1/2 rotisserie chicken, please, she said when our number came up. A man used what looked like garden shears to cut the bird in half, the ribs making a satisfying crunch. He slipped the half into a white bag lined with silver. Back in the car, she put the bag between us on the emergency brake and ripped the bag open, and we ate the chicken with our fingers as the windows steamed up around us. When we finished, she crumpled the bag around the bones and wiped my oily fingers with a napkin, then examined my palm. The place where my hand folds made grooves across the surface like a dry riverbed seen from a great height. No two people have the same lines, she'd explained to me, but everyone has a similar pattern. She tilted the plane of my palm to make the indentations catch the light. Oh, God, she said, wincing. What? I asked. It's just not so good. The lines tatter. Her face looked stricken. She went distant, quiet. We went over this same routine many times in different variations, accruing details as I got older, each time my mother making the same mistakes, as if it was new. What does that mean? Panic in my stomach. I've never seen anything like it. The lifeline, the curved one, this one, holes, bubbles. What's wrong with bubbles? They mean trauma fracturing, she said. I'm so sorry. I knew she wasn't apologizing for the hand, but for my life. The start of my life that I didn't remember. For how hard things were. She might have assumed I didn't know what a family was supposed to look like, but once around this time, I'd chased a boy in the playground wearing a pair of too big shoes. She overheard me say to him scornfully, "You don't even have a father." "What's that line?" I asked, pointing to the one that ran from below the pinky finger. "Your heart line," she said. Also difficult. I was swept in what felt like grief, even though we'd been happy a moment before. And this one, the last one, straight through the middle of my palm, branching off the lifeline, crisper than the others at first. Oh, hope. But then it drooped, then thinned and split like a twig. Wait, she said, brightening. This hand's your left hand. She was dyslexic and had gotten them mixed up. Yes, I said. Oh, good. The left tells me the circumstances you were given. Let me see your right one. I gave her my other hand, and she held it carefully, tracing the lines, turning it to see. The residual grease from the chicken made the skin reflect. This hand tells me what you'll make of my life, she said. It's much better on this side. How did she know? I wondered if she learned to read palms in India. In India, people didn't use their left hand in public, she said. In social situations, the right was used exclusively. This was because they didn't use toilet paper, but used their left hand instead, washing it afterwards. This horrified me. If I go to India, I said, whenever India came up, I'll carry my own roll. She told a story about India, how she went to a festival in Allahabad, called the Kambaha. People used flower water. I would be new and green and smell of freshly cut branches.